Okay, welcome back to another episode of Games and Thoughts. I'm Traxton.
And I'm Michael.
And we're just continuing our Just Cause 3 series. Michael will be playing this time, as you'll be able to tell by the skill level. The quality of play.
Okay.
So I'll just...
What are we talking about here?
We are talking about wealth today. And the morality of wealth, specifically. So, I guess to start, I'll just ask, do you think there's ever a point where someone has too much money? Like, from a moral perspective?
From a moral perspective?
Yeah.
Like, is it wrong for someone to be rich?
Right. After a certain point of richness, I guess.
I mean, maybe?
So, I guess, okay, so...
When people get too much money, like, that they can't even spend it all, I guess that's too rich?
Right, but is that just... Do you think that's wrong from a pragmatic standpoint, or from, like, they are actually doing something wrong by having that much money?
Well, it's... In some cases, it's not like they're choosing to be rich, you know? So sometimes they're just... Or I guess perhaps most of the time... I don't actually know the statistics, but most of the time they are, like, born into it type of thing.
Right, yeah, that's definitely true. I guess where I'm going with it, are you familiar with the Peter Singer pond thought experiment?
Nope.
Okay, so basically the idea is that if you came across a child who was drowning in a pond, would you go help him and make sure he doesn't drown?
Probably, yeah.
And basically any scenario, right? Like, you would get your shoes dirty to do it or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So basically the idea is just that everyone, every wealthy person, to an extent, is in that position with regard to charity. Like, by not giving to charity, they're actively ignoring the hypothetical kid in the pond, you know.
By not giving to charity?
Right.
Well, I don't think anyone has, like, an obligation to donate to charity.
Would you say they have an obligation to help the kid in the pond?
Not necessarily. It's just kind of like a good thing to do, you know?
Really? See, that's interesting. So, you wouldn't say that someone did something wrong by not helping a kid drowning in a pond? If it was perfectly within their means to do so, let's say they're capable of swimming.
Like, they're just watching them drown?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of
that's
a mean thing to do, but, like, no one is compelling them. Maybe the guy can't swim, you know?
Oh, let's assume he does.
Like, okay, if Michael Phelps was like...
Right. Let's take Michael Phelps as the example.
I mean, it's not like you're actively doing a bad thing. You're just kind of not doing a good thing.
Really?
Thing.
That's... Yeah, I don't think I've heard that as a response. Like, most people, when you ask them that part of the thought experiment, they say, of course, someone's doing something wrong by not saving
I'm just crazy.
That's possible. That's very possible. But I guess... Okay, so do you think there's ever a situation of moral obligation? Like,
moral.
is there ever a situation where it is a bad thing to do nothing to you?
A bad thing to do nothing.
Like, is it ever wrong to not help? In a situation where you're able to do so.
It is good to help, but it's not like I said, it's not like you're actively doing a bad thing type of thing. Like, there's a difference between not donating to a charity and robbing a bank.
Yeah. Okay, but is there a difference between robbing a bank and, like, we can just stick with the pond. Is there a difference between robbing a bank and not saving a kid from drowning that you could easily save with no inconvenience to yourself? It sounds like you're saying yes.
There is a difference.
How so?
Because let me think about this.
Take your time.
What was the question?
I guess you're saying there's a difference between actively doing something bad and not doing something that would just be good to do.
Yes.
I guess I don't understand where that difference is.
So actively doing something bad is like a million things. That's more along the lines of like doing something with the intent to make people suffer. Kind of.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can put it. If you don't save the kid drowning, it's not like...
See,
it can go deeper. Is like the guy, like... Does he take pleasure in watching him drown? Or is it more of like...
It's just... Well, let's just say it's an apathetic response. He doesn't feel compelled to help. So he doesn't.
Then, yeah, that's kind of like a jerk thing to do, but it's not necessarily like... He didn't actively kill him, I guess.
But he actively prevented him from being saved.
Actively prevented him from being saved.
Like, right, but in this scenario, the only avenue for the child being saved is this guy helping him.
Mm-hmm.
And he refused to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So he was the reason he was the reason that the kid drowned. Just for, like we said, just apathetic reasons. Just didn't want to get his shoes wet, let's say.
Didn't want to get his shoes wet? Well, that's kind of mean. I mean, it's not like something crazy.
It's not really.
I mean, like I said, there's a difference between, like, does he get enjoyment out of watching him suffer, or is it more like he can't swim and he's scared, or like...
No, he has all the requisite skills to save the kid. He doesn't get enjoyment from it, but he just doesn't want to get his clothes wet or whatever.
Doesn't want to get his clothes wet.
Just a generic apathetic feeling towards the kid.
Well, that's his own deal, and he doesn't really... There isn't a law against not saving someone drowning type of thing.
No, there's not a law, but
I guess
Sure.
that's where my mind is.
But yeah, but you don't base your entire morality off from the law, though.
Not particularly, no.
Right. So why does it matter? We're just speaking on moral terms. Like, what is this guy's? Should he be compelled to help the kid? I guess?
Probably. He should probably be compelled.
Right.
Just out of like human like empathy. Like
Yeah.
but if he doesn't care, then he's probably crazy. Or like
Right,
he has
for
some
sure,
type of
yeah.
mental illness.
Yeah, we're definitely making progress then.
But I don't know if it was like wrong.
I guess, what would you consider wrong then?
If
he actively hurt the child?
Yeah, if he like if he drowned him himself or watched it out of enjoyment. Oh god.
Right, but I guess I just see it as him not helping registers to me the same as actively being the one who drowns him. If he's aware of all of the fact, if he's aware that he's the only opportunity that this kid has to be saved, then he may as well be the one drowning him.
That's a big generalization though.
How so?
It's relying on a lot of like hypothetical things.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a thought experiment. It's not.
Yeah.
This scenario probably doesn't. Although, I mean, this has happened in real life in some point, right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Kids have drowned.
Kids have drowned in ponds. I guess so. We can leave that there. I guess one thing you said was he's probably crazy if he doesn't feel the obligation to help.
He is not like empathetic towards the situation. Just like speaking in general, like human. That is just like that's human instinct is to try to save people that are in danger to preserve our race type thing.
Yeah. So, right. So where I'm going with it is, how does that translate onto an infinitely wealthy person who, if they chose to do so, could save an obscene amount of people just by giving to charity? Like, do you have the same analysis of like something's probably wrong with them?
That's comparing life and death with wealth. I guess people kind of view it differently. Charity is always like it's like what's the word I'm looking for? It's a voluntary thing.
Yeah. That's how we view it conventionally, I would say.
Yeah. And if people don't like volunteer for it, like if it's voluntary, then you don't feel totally compelled to do it so much, and then you get people that have large amounts of money that are just so greedy that they don't really consider charity as much.
Right. But I mean, that's the thing though. Those people have to be aware at some degree of the amount of help that they could give to the world if they chose to do so. Like, you take someone like Jeff Bezos, he could easily, fix world hunger. Maybe not world hunger. he could save some crazy amount of people, right? But nobody sees him as a bad moral actor by not doing that. Whereas if he was just going around finding kids in ponds to not save, then everyone would be like, this is a crazy person we're dealing with.
And it's because charity is, like I said, it's voluntary.
Yeah.
You don't feel like I have to do this type of thing. If it was a situation where like everyone had to donate to charity and he didn't donate to charity,
right,
then people would probably have a problem with that.
Right.
Because yeah, like everyone else did it. You get that with like taxes or whatever.
Yeah. So do you think that kind of like societal apathy towards charity is reasonable, or do you think shouldn't be there?
Towards charity. I think that there probably should be more attention to charities, and it might be a problem of like how it's presented to the public.
Right.
I don't really know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's supposed to tell me to, okay. Oh, I can go do this.
There you go.
Actually. Okay. What was I saying?
Charity.
What about it?
Yeah, I guess because there's no reason the norm couldn't be reversed, right? It's not like it wouldn't be a crazily hard thing to do to convince people that charity is good and necessary.
It is good. I mean,
right, but it's seen as like
I think
good for you if you do it.
No, another thing I think is that you don't see the immediate results of it, which is, I guess, another reason why people might be hesitant to donate to charity. In that aspect, you're kind of just giving your money away, and you don't get anything out of it. And again, it goes against human nature, kind of, because we want to get things.
Right. Well, that's what I've heard. When someone like Will MacAskill, he's a philosopher at Oxford, when he talks about that experiment, he acknowledges that when you save a kid from drowning, there's like an immediate reward of like the human connection that you feel with the kid, and all your reward systems go off. But when if you just give a bunch of money to a charity and you don't see where it goes, even if you do end up saving people, you never really feel that same reward.
You don't get satisfaction. So that's part of it. Another part is just good old greed.
Yeah.
And not wanting to give away things for free.
Right. Which I think we both agree is a overall useless emotion.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have uses, but it is a human thing, that we feel.
Right. I think there's a lot of those types of things that we've just kind of evolved with, that it would be better if we didn't. And I think it is possible to, over time, just kind of maybe reboot the internal reward systems of being human.
Like change the way that we think about things?
Yeah.
That would take a lot of work.
A very long while. For sure.
That's talking like, because a lot of the things that we feel, like the general kind of lots of things are happening.
Yeah.
Those are like I at least view them from an evolutionary standpoint type of thing.
Right, yeah, for sure.
It would make sense in nature as to why we have these thoughts and feelings.
Yeah. But that's the thing, though. We've evolved to live in a world that we no longer live in.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of stuck with all these leftover.
And another thing that's weird is just like the concept of money. Like,
yeah.
We don't do, or at least I don't think monkeys use money, or like dogs or whatever. They don't have money.
No, we're the only species with currency.
Like,
yeah.
So that's, I guess, another reason that thought experiment or whatever. That's another reason that's a thing, is because we're not
how it's disanalogous, because money's
we're
different than.
We're not hardwired to think of money with a moral compass type of thing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Where am I going?
Yeah, so I think that might be a good place to wrap it up. The money issue is interesting. That might be a future thing to talk about.
Oh, I'm just looking at the completely different thing. I have to pick up this gun. That's or at least I think brakes. Anyways, see you next time.
Yeah. So this concludes the episode of Games and Thoughts.
Yep.
Be sure to follow us on the appropriate links and all of that. And we'll see you next time.
Donate to our charity.
Yeah, donate
Feel so inclined
to the Games and Thoughts charity.
Otherwise, next time.
Yeah. All right. We'll see ya.